is a partnership we have with a company called Aggretex, which is a great line, really top-end line of topping systems, architectural topping systems. So these are bag mixes that basically come pre-blended with different colors of aggregate, different base color materials. So what we've got here up front, you can see Brian is troweling down or basically floating in the mix. That's what they just basically poured out of the bag, mixed it with water to specification. Brian is going ahead and putting this down. It looks to be about 3/8 of an inch thick. To Brian's left, that was placed earlier today. So what we're doing here is a classic cooking show. So we're going to show you how it's made. We're going to show you halfway through, and then on Brian's right, the white material, which is a different color. Don't get excited to that green is going to turn white. So the white is different. That's already finished. So that's a completely finished system to kind of show you what it's going to look like when it's done in terms of the texture and what you can expect. So these materials are designed to go down and produce really high-end exposed architectural finishes. A lot of different glass and aggregate combinations depending on the look you're after, and then in combination with integral color you can see just like Brian is putting down there.
You're doing great, Brian.
Nothing like troweling in front of an audience. So typical method of application or application process is this is what's called a wet-on-wet system, meaning that you would place your concrete and then you would leave it quarter, half inch, 3/8 of an inch short, depending on the thickness you're looking for. And then you come back with the product and apply it into the concrete when it's still plastic. So there is some timing involved in terms of making sure that you've got your powder topping system ready to go and that you're working into the concrete while it's still in its plastic state. That way you get the optimum bond and adhesion between your base material and your top material. Working at 3/4 of an inch thickness and 3/8 of an inch thickness, and one bag is going to get you somewhere in the 12 square feet range. Yeah, okay, so the answer to that is yes. It depends on the material the system is using. So this is designed to go wet on wet, but it does come in no relation to water.
project not, lose my voice or something. We had a project not too long ago where sand finish was specified. So they were looking for just a nice, consistent, regularly colored concrete, really light exposure. And the project ended up turning out really bad. There was a lot of bigger 3/4 inch rock that was showing through. So the question was, what can we do to fix that, right? So we came back in, shot glass the surface, created aggressive texture, rolled out an epoxy primer, broadcast sand like you see here, 20 mesh sand, cleaned all that up, and then we used Aggretex, bonded to that, and it gave it an extremely uniform finish. So this is part of the Aggretex system, being able to take that bag mix, add decorative aggregates and glass, and create a really uniform finish. But for that project, it was a solution to fix a problem that was originally specified. We want really nice, consistent color, nice, consistent sand exposure. They didn't do that with the whole concrete, so we were able to fix that with this system.
Ways, you know, they really are meeting one of the trends that we're seeing in the industry today, and that's anything exposed. So exposed concrete, light sand finish, brush finish, very popular right now, trending products. So these are great solutions and options for those type of finishes that are so popular right now. Really just an endless variety of aggregates that can be applied into the product. You can see that it is a really low slump material, so timing is important. So let's talk a little bit about that in terms of staging. It's one thing when you're doing a 4x4 demo here, a real life scenario. You see the mixer to Brian's left, the black and green mortar mixer. You'd want to be using a mixer like that, 5 bags at a time. You'd want to have all your materials staged. If it's a larger job, you might even want to have 2 or 3 of those type of mixers going. You can also use the Hippo here on my right would be another option to have that staged. You want to have all your glass weighed out if you're going to seed aggregates on top. You want everything ready to go in a process because you don't want to be chasing around looking for stuff once you start mixing these products. They do have a finite open time, and as you can see, Brian, he's definitely hustling to get the product down so that you do get a nice finish on it. It's not that you have just a few minutes, but it is not going to stay workable for an infinite amount of time. So it's important to get it down, especially on a larger scale project. Hey Manny, can you help him please? Thank you. So you can see Brian basically floated in there. You could use a gauge rig, a couple different ways to get it down, and then you're going to screed it and finish it just like concrete. Hey Dave. Dave. Slide this way. We have that Aggretex sample kit somewhere that shows all the different finishes. Would you grab one of those for me? Thank you. All right, so the sample I'm holding is basically a great cutaway example of what wet on wet looks like. So this is a pretty typical application. So with the exception that the gray concrete would be, you know, 3 3/4, 3 3/4, or 5/8 thick, and then you would put the topping on. But you can see the difference. I'll put this over there here in a second. You can see what we're talking about in terms of wet-on-wet application and a pretty standard light exposure. This sample kit here, this shows the 19 standard colors with lots of different aggregate combinations, just to kind of give you an example of different base colors and some of the aggregate combinations that are available in their standard portfolio, and then custom blends are available as well, depending on the project. So a lot of times architects and designers like the base color, but then they want to work a color, stone or an aggregate or a glass color in that's more local to their particular region. So we find that a lot of the time. So Brian's screeded it, put a slick on it, finished it. Brian, how important is it to get this smooth?
Extremely important. So when the sun's up above your head, noon, shining down, you don't really notice the convection. But as the sun starts to come down and shining across the switch, you really need to see it very, very flat and very surface. So typically finishing it twice. The guys we have on keyboards, once behind, and they'll come behind on sliders. Realistically, that's the best way, and that's the best way to finish these types of switches, get that nice consistency.
You also want to make sure that any edging that's done, joining, all that is scrubbed out and finished smooth as well, because that will show up once you do your exposure. So what Brian's got in the sprayer is Brian, help me out. Surface edge, thank you. Having a moment. So surface edge, which is an exposed aggregate surface retarder. He's going to apply this to the panel that he placed earlier today. So that's important. You want to let the system set up. When you apply the surface edge is really critical in terms of achieving the proper level of edge. You don't want to put it on too early, and at the same time you don't want to put it on too late. So there is a window that you want to be operating. Yeah, so there's 3, or actually depending on the product, there's 5 to 7 different levels of edge, and you have your choice 01, 03, 05, 15, 25. There's different numbering systems. Typically lower number is a finer edge, the larger the number is a deeper edge. So the larger the number, the deeper the edge, the more stone you're going to expose. So that's all specified up front, what you're looking for in terms of depth of exposure, the amount of sand, or do you want to get into the larger aggregate. So these materials are all colored, and the color has nothing to do with the performance of the product. It's there so Brian can see what he's covered. It doesn't take a lot. You just want a nice, fine, even, thin application across the surface, and then you let chemistry do the rest. So what this is what's the number you're working with, Brian? So this is 15, so this is basically going to give a little deeper than sand. We're going to get into some of the larger sand particles, maybe start to expose some of the top of the small aggregate in the mix. And you can see that's it. It's quick, it's easy, it's really thin application. I would say one of the things that I see in terms of troubleshooting is a lot of times over applying these exposed materials. It doesn't take a lot. Now, okay, so are you going to